This is the Perfect Being. I'm here to tell you all to subscribe to the perfect channel, UnrealEntGaming. Please remember to turn on your notifications to be the first to know about the latest in Dragon Ball news and information. And if you don't, very soon you will all be dead, along with your entire planet.
The long-awaited battle royal to determine the fate of the entire multiverse is finally at hand as Son Goku rendezvous with Frieza in order to leave with the representing Universe number 7 team into the World of Void, as each individual universe gathers in preparation as rules are established by the Grand Priest and the clock winds down to 0 as the wait is over and we move on in with the beginning of the Tournament of Power. What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 96 breakdown review entitled "The Time is Here to the World of Void, for the fate of the universe is at hand," leading into next week's exciting episode of Dragon Ball Super episode 97 is when it officially begins and we see the commencement of the Tournament of Power officially beginning as the clock winds down to 0 and the Omni Kings sit back to enjoy as 80 of the strongest fighters in the entire multiverse wage war against each other in what will be a spectacular episode, a spectacular tournament going on forward, especially based on Dragon Ball Super episode 97's preview and seeing what happened then. But a quick plug before we begin: if you guys are new to this channel, be sure to go on ahead and punch that subscribe button for more news, information, updates, and of course discussions alongside gameplay reviews for all forms of Dragon Ball content. And make sure to also go on ahead and punch that bell icon, that way you guys are always notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel, as I will be covering various Dragon Ball topics throughout the coming weeks. And of course, if you guys are not following me at Twitter, be sure to go on ahead and head over to Twitter and follow me at UnrealEntGaming to be up to date with all that is Dragon Ball news, information, and updates. And I thank you guys for your overwhelming support on the channel, as it does go a long way. So if you guys are new, be sure to go on ahead, turn on notifications, hashtag notification squad, to be up to date with all that is in Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Super episode 96 is now officially in the history books, and judging based on Dragon Ball Super episode 97's preview, we see the official beginning of the Tournament of Power. Now, if you guys go on ahead and just pay close attention, this entire tournament is going to be a cluster. We see Android 17 having the tank, a few ki blasts on his own. We see how Goku engages against some of the Mouse God Kitella's fighters during the tournament, and the only person that we see sitting their way out of this is Jiren, because towards the end of the preview, we see how Goku finally notices Jiren, and just as he's about to take charge, Jiren spots Goku, notices him, acknowledges his presence, and waits on him. So in the episode preview, it looks like Goku is directly trying to fight his way to Jiren, as Jiren is standing his own ground. He isn't even fighting anyone, he's simply standing there as Goku is in pursuit. So my overall thoughts on this is keep your eyes out for the following fighters: Android 17, Android 18, Topo, Goku, and Jiren. Those are going to be the guys I think that are going to be heavily prompted for next week. Of course, we see in this episode how Frieza was engaging with Frost in the conversation in trying to see which one of them is going to be superior as they fight. But in any case, we get to see how a couple of fighters are left out watching the overall fight, in which they can join at any given time, but it looks like you don't have to necessarily jump on in, as we see all of the Job Squad fighters from the other universes like Universe number 9, Universe number 10 jump in. And of course, I do think that those guys are going to get foddered, as so far nobody seemed to have transformed in the episode preview. However, once Goku engages with Jiren, I think the fight's going to prolong itself until Goku begins to get serious, and of course Jiren as well begins to turn up the notch against Goku, because in this episode we saw how Jiren was able to move so fast behind Goku, Goku couldn't even tell as to what the hell had happened. So this episode pretty much sums up the overall basis of everyone having to meet each other and go all in, and that also includes Master Roshi, who we see launching a massive Kamehameha. We see Moscow's universe, in which I think is going to be scientifically superior sufficiently in terms of gadgets and gizmos and overall utilization of their bodies in this tournament, as they are built specifically for survival. So even if by some chance we do see another universe have the edge, I do think that Moscow's universe, scientifically speaking, in terms of technology, is going to be ahead. But even with that being said, I don't think they can survive the likes of Toppo and especially Jiren, who we see in the episode just prominently having to stand back and witness everything go down as he's watching the fire and the carnage and not moving in the slightest until Goku arrives. And one thing to note about Jiren is the fact that as Goku was talking to Toppo, he had no interest in fighting Toppo, in which later caused Goku to redirect his overall attention to Jiren, and Jiren was so fast. Guys, you guys don't understand how fast this man was. Goku was staring directly at him, and just as Jiren teleported behind him, Goku turned around and could not believe before his very eyes as to what had just happened, which pretty much leaves me to believe that maybe the person that Whis was talking about of having to deal with a mortal possibly rivaling a Hakai power just may be Jiren. And the reason why I am telling you guys to go on ahead and give Jiren a chance to showcase his power is because in this tournament, when he begins to fight, he's gonna prove to the entire multiverse as to why he possibly is one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous competitor in this entire tournament. First of all, he completely disregarded Goku after he was trying to acknowledge him, after he was trying to talk to him, and then in the episode preview, Jiren doesn't even bother to fight at all as he's just standing there and watching everyone else fight while he sits back and relaxes. Meanwhile, we also get to see Frieza as he begins to talk with Frost and saying, "Do you like to rule by power?" and Frost having to say, "Yes, but of course," and Frieza having to say, "So then, I do think that we will get along." So those two, obviously based on their characteristics, based on who they are as characters, are going to be plotting something in the overall tournament, but also having to separate that because their moment was quite brief. We also get to see how Khalifa was introduced to Goku, and Khalifa having to say, "Get real, we're deciding who's the strongest in all of the universes, so I can't be all buddy-buddy with you," with Goku having to say, "Wow, so you just sound just like me," and then later on having to meet Kale, we see how Kale is also shy. She didn't really say much, but I also want to touch up on the overall ideology of the three gods that fought in the beginning. Now, it was Liquor's idea in having to engage the gods of destruction, in which I have to say, all of the gods of destruction have such unique abilities, have such unique fighting poses and stances, and the way when they fought, it was just incredible to see, especially Liquor, who had these incredible moves. He was sending blasts up in the sky, it was raining down, even to see Arak having to brawl with, Liquor and having to break the ground. The only god of destruction to exclude himself from this battle was, of course, the god of destruction known as Jin. He was the only one that decided to sit on out. Now, people are wondering to themselves if in fact this means that Jin has a motive. Perhaps maybe Jin is the strongest god of destruction there, since he has no means in competing, because overall Jin was observing everything as it was going down and having no means in joining and having no means to prove himself. However, the other Kaioshin were worried in asking Jin would he like to join, with Jin's response having to be, "Isn't it already obvious?" So that right there just tells me that Jin might be the strongest god of destruction. So having to see these gods fight, even though it was momentary for the time being, it was still incredible to see, because now if you look at the overall premise of what a god is, judging based on what Whis and Bottle spoke about previously, gods of destructions are not supposed to fight, because if they begin to fight, they're going to begin to erase the entire universe. So with that being said, we're fighting in a place right now where nothing can be erased as displayed in this episode. Now, going into this, I originally thought that this episode was going to have terrible animation. In fact, I thought the entire episode was going to suck based on the overall animation in and of itself, but this overall episode proved itself in having decent animation and having good animation in comparison to what we normally get, because we can tell that the animators have been hard at work with this. But even with that being said, Frieza having to meet up with Universe number 7 fighters, in particular Vegeta, you can already tell that these two are going to have such a problem, because based on the way they were talking to each other, Vegeta pretty much said, "Huh, well, look who it is," with Frieza having to say, "There are a bunch of familiar faces here that bring back so many memories," with Beerus having to say, "Do anything stupid and you'll be dealing with me," with Frieza having to say, "I know that, Beerus-sama," and then Vegeta having to notice Frieza's halo and saying, "That angel's halo suits you very well, Frieza," with Frieza having to take offense because we see his overall reaction. He was very very tense in him having to follow up by saying to Vegeta, "It looked better on you." And that was when Vegeta and Frieza had lots of tension, and Frieza having to say, "I can give you a present if you want," with Vegeta having to ready up. And again, this overall episode proves that nobody is going to be getting along in this tournament, especially Frieza having to say, "I don't take orders from Goku," and Tien having to say, "Really, Goku, you're really making him a part of the team," with Goku having to say, "It's fine, I'll keep him in check." And we see Yamcha's in the background, and again, even though Yamcha is not in the Tournament of Power, we see how Puar is talking to him and saying, you know, "I'm sorry that you weren't chosen," and that's when Yamcha's like, "Well, I wish I could have entered," this, that, and the third, but nobody really wants to see Yamcha over Frieza. I mean, let's be realistic here, so I'm glad they kept him away, and the Supreme Kai Shin this entire time is trying to settle the beef, but again, this episode primarily focuses, especially based on the spoilers, that Frieza is going to turn away from Team Universe 7 and doing his own thing and not listening to Gohan's plan. As Vegeta in this episode said, "Just take out the ones who look strong and that's enough," with Gohan having to tell Vegeta that is not a good plan. And that's what Frieza said, "As expected, Vegeta, I share that opinion." And we see how even Piccolo's like, "Listen, you don't get it, like, we're not supposed to just go for the strongest fighters, you know, everything will be erased, including Trunks and Bulla, if you don't keep your head on straight." And this is going to be a tournament where there are going to be lots of problems, including Goku and Vegeta, because as Piccolo said, they are Saiyans at their core, which means that they're going to have a tough time having to follow orders because they don't play by numbers, as Vegeta even pointed out, with Gohan having to say, "It's okay, maybe we can fight together," and showing them what it's like and maybe getting them to play, because the overall strategy here is to, you know, sustain your stamina and not be depleted, fight in numbers of 2 or 3, and if an enemy approaches, take them down. And Vegeta doesn't want to hear it, Frieza doesn't want to hear it, Goku doesn't want to hear it, and Beerus was saying, "This is not about being fair, this is not about playing by the rules, this is about survival, this is to fight to win, and if you don't fight to win, you are going to be eradicated." So then we see them arrive, and that's when tensions boil. Again, the overall episode preview, if you pay attention, we do see some of Universe number 10. I do think that one of the fighters from Universe number 10 from Goasu's universe is fighting Toppo, the same guy that paused everyone to drink their protein shakes. We see him actually engaging with Toppo. We see Goku having to fight one of Kitella's warriors, and again, I do think Universe number 9, Universe number 4, and Universe number 10 are going to be fodder. Moscow's universe may be difficult. Universe number 11 is going to be a great challenge, and of course, Universe number 6 and 7, the only thing they share in common is ego, because so far from what we see, it doesn't look like anyone is cooperating in trying to work together, because everyone seems to have their own agenda. Even Khalifa herself, as she was talking to Goku, she specifically said, "This is about fighting the strongest warriors in the universe." So what does she and Goku have to share in common? They have the common grounds of having to share the ideology of fighting the strongest people in the tournament. So post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts and expectations for the upcoming Tournament of Power to begin? It's going to be a cluster. What are your overall thoughts on Jiren? Even though he briefly spoke, we saw how he told Goku, "Get lost," and that was the end of that little scuffle. So post your comments down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are hyped and ready for the Tournament of Power to officially begin next week, go on ahead and slap a like on the video. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to go on ahead and hit that subscribe button for more news, information, and updates. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you guys down in the comment section below. For the only thing I was really disappointed on was seeing the Gods of Destruction not duke it out the way they should. That was the only thing that I was regretting, because I was hoping to see them fight just a little longer, but who's to say we may not see another God fight one day down the line in a future arc. So thank you all for watching, guys. Once again, tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, guys. Peace.